Yo, what up, y'all? Cherries and Bunions back in the building, and today we gonna continue with this living room set. Nothing major, just add a couple of extra decor items, and then we gonna add a chick to the scene, a little pretty young lady and all that, and start and discuss a few more things about animation and art, cause art is where you could live out your alternate universe and alternate reality. You know, when you walk in the earth, you gotta behave yourself and live according to the rules of society and be kind to your fellow man and woman. And then you escape into the art world where there's no rules and no boundaries and you could do whatever you want. And and if people want to judge you, it don't matter because this is art. So that's why I love it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm back. Adding a vase right here using the add points tool and the manipulate points tool and the curvature tool. And as you can see, little minor details like me changing the tone of the green from a darker green to a lighter green, just to give a little bit of you know um just to make it look better. And I told you, like, this is a vector art program, Moho Pro 12 that I'm using. And not only you drawing, what makes this program great is that you sculpting. So you just lay the points down, lay the lines down, lay the shapes down, and then you can shape and mold them to your desire. So you could get the look that you striving to achieve. And I'm just adding like some floral decor to the vase. And once we finish this vase, we'll duplicate it and add it to the other table. You know, like I said, y'all should be focusing on writing and drawing, cause that's what's gonna elevate your animation game. They got a lot of softwares out there that you can animate in, and you're gonna learn those by just keep playing around with them. But if you're not writing and drawing, there's no need for you to learn these programs because the writing and drawing is the foundation. Writing and drawing and writing and drawing and storyboarding. Storyboarding is planning out your animation scene by scene, shot by shot. And you don't gotta get all fancy if you a solo animator. You could just write down what you want to achieve in each shot and each scene. And then, you know, you do a bunch of little simple things and put those little simple things together and it'll give the illusion of complexity. That's where the magic is at. You just do a bunch of little things and then put it together and then make it look complicated. You know what I'm saying? And you see, like I'm drawing this vase with the flowers, but when you're using this program, keep in mind as you see these shapes are overlapping each other. So try to draw your shapes in order because the last shape that you drew is gonna be on the top. And there's a tool that where you can select the shape and use the arrow to move the shapes up and down within a layer. But sometimes that tool be acting funky, so just to avoid all the complications, try to draw your shapes in order. from the bottom to the top. And if you can't do that, just do everything on different layers and then put that in a group, and you could avoid having to deal with that issue. And then you could reorganize the layers to your desire. And I'm gonna just draw a carpet right here on the floor. And like I said, I'm just eyeballing all the perspective. So usually when you drawing things in perspective, you have perspective point and perspective lines to make it more easier as guides on how you want to draw your scenes. And in the future, I'm gonna use those tools, use those artistic tools to draw my scenes. But this scene, I'm just flowing off the dome with my perspective because it's like a real simple scene. But the point of this is just to get you familiar with the whole process and how easy it is to use these tools right here. And like I said, most of the drawing tools that I'm using is on the left side of the screen, and I'm mostly using the add points tool, the manipulate points tool, the curvature tool, and the line width tool, create shapes tool. And you know the great thing about this program, if you're confused about what tool you're using or which tool to use, you can hover over each tool and a pop-up will show you the name of that tool. So you don't have to get confused. And the layers are on the right hand side with the colors for the lines and the fills, and the stroke width. So you could use a thicker stroke if you want. Stroke means the outline. That's what the stroke is. It means the outline. And look at that rendered right there, the living room with the couch and the carpet and the pictures and the frames and the flowers and tables and all that. It'll look a lot more crispy when you render it, and even you can render that as an image, PNG or a JPEG or whatever, and you can use that image in any project you want to put it in, or even print it out and hang it on your wall, you know what I'm saying? And right now I'm drawing this chick right here, this young lady, and I'm going to tell you, every time I draw a character, I use stick figure first, because when you use a stick figure, it helps with the poses. You don't gotta follow the stick figure all the way. And you see, look at that. I was using the pink stroke before for the carpet, and it adopted to the stick figure. But now I'm changing that to a black stroke, which is a black line that I'm drawing with. And remember, when you draw lines in Moho Pro, if it's not a complete shape, if it's like a straight line or a curved line or whatever, just like how the stick figure is, you got to lay those lines down and then use the create shape tool. Select those lines and points, press enter to solidify the lines and make them visible. Because unless what you're drawing is a complete shape, will automatically render. But if it's not a complete shape, you have to use the create shapes tool to solidify the lines, the align work. So you're gonna have to use that tool a lot, and that tool also has other function, like if you wanna put like a hole in the shape and things like that. And then remember, you can always go to the top menu and go to the help menu, and then you could pull up some tutorials and the software manual and gather a lot of information from that. So right now I'm just drawing this young lady, and one thing about it, you just gotta lay down the line work, and then from there you sculpt it to your desire. That's why I don't care about how it look in the beginning, as long as I it come out good in the end. You know what I'm saying? It's all a process of drawing in the vector style, and this style could get real you could get real complicated with this style right here. It's not just simple stuff, you know. And then like I said before, if you prefer to draw traditionally, you could bring your drawings into this program and even trace your drawings so you can have the benefits of having your art in a vector form, because vector form is easier to animate when you're moving things around and all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so but the important thing is y'all keep writing and keep drawing. Keep writing and keep drawing and improve that aspect of your game. And then you can play around with the software. Because I'm going to tell you something. You don't got to use every tool in the software to get something done. You know what they say. You use 20% of the features 80% of the time. So a lot of things you're not going to a lot of stuff in the program you're not going to use, and then also there's multiple ways to get certain things accomplished. So don't get boggled down and like oh, I got to do things this way or that way. No, there's multiple ways to do things. So find a way that's comfortable for you to do certain things and then stick with that. Or change it when you feel like another way is better. But don't get boggled down in the intricacies of the program. The program is easy. Focus on learning how to improve your drawing and your writing. And the rest is gonna, as far as the software goes, is gonna fall into place. You just gotta play with the software, watch these tutorials, and you're gonna figure that part out. But you gotta write and draw and storyboard. Write, draw, and storyboard. That's important. That's the most important part of the process. Because that's the soul right there. You know? Without your soul, you just a rotten piece of meat. You know what I'm saying? Because they got other because once you learn the writing and drawing and storyboarding, you could translate that to any program. And this is a paid program. Even though if you get the version 12, you can always find it on a discount. I'm talking about for the low, probably 10, $20. So there's no excuse for you not to get this program. But I'm talking about version 12. You know the newer versions cost a lot more. But what I was going but what I was saying is you learn the basics of writing, drawing, and storyboarding, and then you could translate that to any program. And they even got programs that's free, like Open Tunes. That's a good free program. Open Tunes. They got Synfig. Those are all good programs that you could download for free on your PC, Mac, or Linux computing system. And I'm just drawing this chick right here. You see, I laid down line work at first, and it was looking all crazy. Now it's looking like it's coming together. You know, put a little belly button joint on shorty, and then you see the lines are real thick on that. So I'm gonna thin out the lines by using the line width tool, which is a tool, one of the drawing tools under the fill on the left side of the screen. And you know, you always gotta have a bunch of characters. Cause one thing about this journey, you do one project and you proud of that project, but it's not over. It's on to the next. You know what I'm saying? This is a lifetime journey. And the thing about life, what I try to tell these youngins, be careful in life what you choose to do, because you're gonna have to do it for a long time, and you gotta ask yourself, is this what I wanna do for the next 10, 20, 30 years? You know what I'm saying? Or for the rest of my life. That's why you gotta be careful what you say you wanna choose to do. So don't just go out there and just do things cause the money good. Because whatever you choose to do, you're gonna have to do it for a long time. That's why a lot of guys get jammed up in the street, cause they see quick opportunities, quick easy opportunities to make money, and they not really thinking. You sell a little bit of drugs and make some money. You're gonna have to do that, repeat, and you're gonna have to rinse and repeat that process over and over again. And next thing you know, you selling drizzy wops for the next 10, 20 years. And then, when it comes to doing anything, you got to take everything and come with the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? So now you dealing with the drizzy wops. You got to deal with the robbers, the police, the haters. The pain in your brain knowing that you destroying people's lives. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you choose to do, remember you're gonna have to do whatever you choose to do for a long time. So be careful what you say you want to do, cause it's just not something you just do for a day or two. We human beings. Human beings is something like a biological computer that get programmed. You know what I'm saying? And once you put a program in your mind and your brain, you get caught up in conditioning. You know what I'm saying? And then you tend to repeat things over and over again, and that's human nature. That's why you gotta program yourself properly and be conscious of what you say you gonna do. You know what I'm saying? So long story short, try to do something positive. Even if the money ain't right in the beginning, it's gonna get right. And then and even if the money ain't right, you make it right by through management. You know what I'm saying? Manage your money properly. Don't be spending like crazy. And save your money. You know what I'm saying? Don't be out there trying to impress folks with the nicest clothes and all that, and cars and all that. Just live within your means, or live below your means, a matter of fact, and stack up your paper and make power moves. You know what I'm saying? But I choose to do art and animation because it's therapeutic for the brainstem. You know, um, it keeps me. It's something to do. You always gotta have something to do. You know what I'm saying? Because if you ain't got nothing to do, trust me, they'll find something for you to do. And it might not come out good. So right now I'm drawing the fingernails for Shorty. A little red paint a fingernail with some white shimmer. Cause fingernails are glossy, so you gotta make them look glossy. And you see, the beautiful thing about vector art is how you can scale it up and down. Shape it, move it to your desire, so you don't gotta worry about making mistakes. All mistakes could be corrected within vector art and traditional art too. With the eraser and all that, but vector art is definitely more forgiving, and also it's easier to animate vector art. Cause all this moving around I'm doing and shaping and molding, you could do all that within the timeline with keyframes, and and it'll be all part of your animation. You know what I'm saying? So you don't gotta constantly be drawing in between frames. You got two keyframes, and you can make your animation work. You see, I copied and pasted that hand to make a duplicate hand. So that was pretty cool. And you know, it's the little things within this program that you learn every day that's gonna improve your game and all that. You know, I'm just a guy that knows a lot about this program, and it's not about knowing about the program, it's about knowing about the experience and what it takes to produce a project. You know what I'm saying? Because they got a lot of folks out there, they trying to show you tutorials about how to do this and how to do that, but they not living the life. You know what I'm saying? It's like a pimp. You know, like they say, yeah, you a pimp, but I'm pimping. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference, yo. You could be a pimp, but are you pimping, yo? You know what I'm saying? That's a difference, yo. You know, yeah, you a pimp, but I'm pimping. You know what I'm saying? As one is a noun and one is a verb. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing you how to complete a project. You know, other folks, they just showing you how to do this and how to do that, how to use these tools. This program could do this. Oh, look at this great things these programs could do. But at the end of the day, you walk away and you don't know how to complete a project because they showing you all the fancy things the program could do. But how is it applicable to completing a project? You know what I'm saying? Because now you know how to use all these tools, and now you want to do this and you want to do that. And all that's time consuming. You're not going to use all these tools and all these features. You know, you're only going to use 20% of the program 80% of the time. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm showing you the workflow, the process. You dig what I'm saying? I'm showing you the workflow and the process, what it take to complete a project. You don't gotta know all the fancy stuff. What you need to focus on is drawing, improving your drawing and your writing. Cause once you got your drawing and your writing and your storyboarding down, and remember the storyboarding is very important. Those are the three. That's the holy trinity of the animation and art world is writing, drawing, and storyboarding. You know, and then you're gonna put everything else together. But you gotta write, draw, and storyboard. And then you know you got your sound design, your scoring, your voice acting, you know, video editing. You see what I'm saying? And those are the pillars of producing animation projects. I'm not going to sit here and go through every menu and every tool and show you, oh, this program could do this program. Nah. I'm showing you the fastest, simplest way to get things achieved as far as what it takes to produce a project. You know what I'm saying? That's why everything I'm doing is simple. Because simplicity means quickness. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be getting caught up in paralysis of analysis. You know, constantly want to learn how to do this and want to do that. And you feel like you got a void within yourself because you can't do this and can't do that. You know, or I want to make rigs. I want to use the bones. I want to use the shadows, and I want to you know, use the tracing and the rotoscoping and da da da. Nah, write and draw, write and draw, and storyboard. Once you plan out your shots and your scenes, you're gonna realize you don't need all that complicated stuff because most scenes is like 5-10 seconds. And that 5-10 seconds, you're not gonna need all that fancy stuff. You just trying to get this done and that done, and then you're gonna put all those shots together to make something look complicated. But you want to make it simple. And that's the thing about animation. When you do an animation and you saying, "Damn, this is real complicated," you take that complex issue and break it down into simple steps. If you want to make a big complicated scene, but you find yourself it's overwhelming and you going deep into the timeline and things is getting cluttered, take a break and figure out how you could break that scene down into different shots. And then you put those shots together to make that scene, that complicated scene, look complicated, but really you just simplified it. And that's the one of the biggest secrets of animation is breaking down complicated scenes into simple steps to make it work. And as you can see, like when I do my drawing, like my faces and the bodies, I use guidelines and I use stick figures because this is animation. It's all about posing. You know what I'm saying? Even if you got a character, a good habit to do in your spare time is make a what they call a model sheet, where you take your character and have them in different poses and positions, and that it could also improve your gesture drawing. You dig what I'm saying? That could improve your gesture drawing because 90% of communication is nonverbal. You could have your characters communicate through their poses and facial expressions and body language. Because 90% of communication is nonverbal, you dig? And this chick right here, this young lady, she looking all good. You know what I'm saying? One thing I like to do too, which I haven't done yet in this, but I'm gonna tell you something I like to do. I like to have the eyes, the pupils pointing in a direction. Like you see how she's looking forward or aimlessly. When I'm getting into having characters to a scene, I like to point the eyes in a direction because it just gives it more soul in the character. When you have your characters looking or aimlessly, it kind of make the character look not alive. But when you point the eyes in a direction, it gives the character more life. That's just my opinion, and I might not do that in this tutorial, but that's a simple thing. You just take the pupils and move them to the left or the right, looking up or down or whichever position you want to put them in. But being that she's in this Fedolo, I might not get to that, but that's just a simple fix. Just adding on, letting you know what I like to do. And then you see like a lot of the line work is real thick in this tutorial, so in certain situations you could thin out the lines by using the line width tool. And then when you use a tool, see, look at that, I'm moving the eyes to the left. Now I look like her face. Now she look more like she getting it, like she into something now. You know what I'm saying? She not looking aimlessly. Now she got life to her because she's looking in a direction, That's my thing right there. So, like when you draw your characters, point the eyes in a direction, yo. Just to give it life, yo, to make you feel more motivated in your art. You know what I mean? Look at Shorty, yo. She got the pink hair with the juicy lips, yo, That's how you do it, yo. And then you gotta curve out the contours of the hairstyle. And this is just a simple hairstyle. It ain't nothing major. It's a little animation hairstyle. I could get more intricate. See, because one thing about animation, I mean, they got different styles of animation, but you know, sometimes it's not about intricate, lifelike art. It's all about motion, you know? Because animation is about motion and illusion, where static art could be more about details and realistic drawing, but it depends what you striving for, you know? But that shorty right there, sitting on the couch, you know what I mean? Look at that rendered, yo, looking all nice and all that. But yo, I'ma check y'all on the next tutorial, yo. Y'all be safe and follow the path. Yo, peace.